Welcome to Just Asia. Here are the headlines for this week's program. Climate change threatens human rights in Asia. Demonstrators take to the streets for a strong outcome in Paris. Papuans violently arrested during the peaceful protest in Jakarta, Indonesia. Former judge slams Prime Minister Modi and justice institution in India. Basil Fernando updates Just Asia on the latest from Sri Lanka. Welcome to AHRC TV's Just Asia. I'm Mamila Sampath. Earlier this week, around 200 world leaders congregated in Paris for a 2-week climate change summit, a meeting some say will determine the future viability of human civilization on our planet. The meeting aims for a global agreement on the course of actions beyond 2020 and to determine how each country will reduce greenhouse gas emission to ensure global warming stop to a 2 degrees Celsius mark. The globe has already warmed by 1 degree Celsius and the speed of warming is accelerating. In the words of one climate scientist, this is at one of the first generations of people to have fully understood the seriousness of climate change and quite possibly the last generations that will be in a position to do anything about it before it's too late. Concerned citizens in Hong Kong, in coordination with citizens in most countries, took to the streets in last weekends to remind participants in Paris that world is watching and expecting a strong agreement. Asia is particularly vulnerable compared to other continents. Its crowded coastal cities could face some of the worst effects of global warming. Hundreds of millions of people are like to lose their homes to flooding, superstorm, famine and rising sea levels. Some of small island nations are being swallowed up by the sea. This makes coastal Asian urban centers like to sources for future conflict and refugee migrations. Some Asian nations have already felt the wrath of the warming climate and have decided to fight back. The Philippines have recently been on the receiving end of some of the worst typhoon ever recorded. In September, storm survivors and civil society groups in the Philippines, including Greenpeace Southeast Asia, brought a human rights perspective to fight against climate change by registering a complaint with the Commissions of Human Rights in the Philippines. The complaint called for investigation into the responsibility of the world's biggest fossil fuel companies for fueling a climate change that have resulted in such a devastating storms, endangering people's life and livelihoods as well as that of the future generations. HRC TV will report on the outcomes of the Paris negotiations. Every year on December 1st, indigenous Papuans celebrate Papuan independence from colonial Dutch rule. Indonesia occupied Papua in 1969, while Papuans believe they got independence from Dutch in 1961. The December 1st, hundreds of Papuans celebrate Papuan independence. They called for a referendum and sought immediate end to the human rights violations committed by Indonesian security forces in Papua. However, when they conduct the peaceful public protest in Jakarta, the Jakarta police office requested them to stop the protest. The police argued that the protesters did not have permit. Then the police attacked and forcibly disappeared the protest. 306 indigenous Papuans who took part in the protest were arrested. They were brought to the Jakarta police office and examined by the police. The police started the protest violated Law No. 9 of 1998 of public protest. One protester was even hit on the head, resulting in his bleeding. After examination by the Police Commissioner of National Commission on Human Rights, Mr. Natalia Pige, from Papua arrived and posted bail to release protesters. 20 persons are still detained because the police has argued that they committed treason by wearing Morning Star flag t-shirt. Just Asia next turns to India. Justice Markandey Katju is a former judge of the Supreme Court of India. After retirement from the judiciary, Justice Katju served as the chairperson of the Press Council of India, a body that governs its conduct of media in India. Justice Katju is known for forthright opinions. Justice Katju expressed his concerns about the incumbent Indian government and his worry the state is Indian's democracy in an interview with Manorama News, a vernacular news channel based in Kerala state of India. The Indian intelligentsia are in a self-censorship mode today. There are isolated and random expressions on discontent and indolence against hate speech and communal poisoning that the fundamentalist religious forces are in the country have been fomenting since incumbent government assumed office. In such an environment, voices like that Justice Katju have immense value. Here are experts from Justice Katju, Manorama News interview.
I see hope, but revolution is my hope. You see, there can be one building which can be repaired or renovated. There can be another building which is so dilapidated that you have to, it requires demolition and fresh construction. So, there is no construction without destruction. You have to destroy this system. It is outdated. Our constitution has exhausted itself. All our institutions have collapsed. Do we have a parliament? The whole monsoon session was washed out. Shouting, screaming, there was no business transacted. I am sure that is going to happen in the winter session and thereafter in the budget session. Parliament is finished. It will never work now. Whoever is in opposition will not allow the parliament to function. When BJP was in opposition, they did not allow parliament to function. Now, Congress and others are now, they will not allow it to. Parliament is finished, judiciary, it takes 25-30 years to decide a case finally. Is this a judiciary or a joke? And half of the judiciary has become corrupt. I know, I was part of the system. Bureaucracy is largely corrupt. Everything has collapsed in this country. Now then, it is all a empty shell, hollow. So, it requires a revolution. This is a country of great diversity. So many religions, so many castes, so many languages, so many ethnic groups. So, the only way to keep united and progress is secularism and giving equal respect to everybody. So, communalism is an enemy of this nation. All those who are communal are traitors to this nation, enemies. And similarly, casteism is also an enemy to the nation. Corruption is also an enemy to the nation. At every level there is corruption in this country. So very tough measures have to be taken, which is not possible within the system. And that is when I see my country going to dogs, I cannot remain silent. And therefore I speak out. And when I speak out, I become controversial. I mean, you people have been befooled. 90% Indians don't have brains here, they have gobar and bhusa here. Full of casteism, communalism. So my effort is to remove your cow dung from your head and put in brains there. And for that, people say, oh, you are popularity seeker, publicity seeker. I have no desire to seek popularity. But I certainly feel very strongly for my country. I mean, you should be, by now, you should have been like North America or Europe, highly prosperous, highly developed, highly industrialized country. But the fact is, this is a very backward country. You people, for example, most of you look down on Dalits. Is this true or not? Will you give your daughter in marriage to a Dalit boy? That is the test. Many parts of India, they will kill the girl if she marries a Dalit or a Muslim. Honor killing. So this shows this is a very, very backward country full of casteism, communalism. 80-90% Hindus are communal and 80-90% Muslims are also communal. The communal poison injected after 1857 is so deeply entrenched, it will take 20 years to remove it.
The Asian Human Rights Commission's Director for Policy and Programs, Basil Fernando, has recently returned from Sri Lanka, where he conducted the seminar for Crisis of Rule of Law in Sri Lanka and how it affected the judiciary and the lawyers. Furthermore, the Human Rights Office in Kandy organized a workshop for prison officers of Palikale, open prison on the role of the prison officers in rehabilitating and integrating prisoners to the society. Prison officials openly spoke to the failure of government to consider the lack of space provided to the prisoners with a long-term sentence. Undue delay in the judicial system were noted as one of the main causes of the prison overcrowding. It was pointed out that there is no systematic method for rehabilitating prisoners. Another workshop was held with 30 human rights defenders from 5 different local organizations under the theme of the law enforcement and human rights. During the workshop, a torture case was taken up for a study. The torture had occurred 2 days before the workshop session in Katugastota, Kandy Road. The Katugastota police severely tortured civilian driver after stopped his vehicle for license checking. While the victim was still in the hospital chains, a letter was drafted to the Human Rights Commissions. Here is the victim Nirosh Chamra Rupasinghe speak about his ordeal.
කටුගස්තර පොලිසිය මාව දැකලා ට්‍රැෆික් එකේ මාව නැවතුවා. නවත්තලා මගෙන් ඇහුවා බීලාද අනම්මනම් කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ මම කිව්වා නෑ මම මොකද බීලා නෑ කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ බහැලා එන්න නම් මට කිව්වා මෙහෙම බහැලා වරේ මනම්මන් කියලා. මං කිව්වා බහැලා එන්න නෑ ඔබතුමාට කරන්න පුළුවන් ඔබතුමාගේ නීතිය කරන්න කියලා මම කිව්වා. කිව්වට පස්සේ මට මගේ කාර් එකේ යතුරු ගත්තා එකපාරට. යතුරු ගත්තට පස්සේ මේ මට බැන්න එන්න කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ ෂර්ට් එක මාව ඇද්දා. ඇද්දලා පස්සේ මං ගියේ නෑ. මගේ යතුරු අරන් ගියාට පස්සේ මං යතුරු ඉල්ලන්න ගියා. යතුරු ඉල්ලන්න ගියාන් පස්සේ මෙයා මහත්මයා මට බැන්න යතුරු දෙන්නේ නෑ මෙහෙමයි කියලා වෙලා. ඊට පස්සේ තව දෙන්නේ කොහමරි කෝල් එකක් දුන්නා. තව කෝල් එකක් දීලා තව කට්ටිය දෙන්න තුන් දෙනෙක්ම එතනට ගෙනාවා. කොහමරි එතනට ආවා හතර පහක් විතර ආවා මට දැනුවත්. ඒ කට්ටිය ඔක්කොම හෙල්මට් දාගෙන හිටියේ. එක්කෙනයි හෙල්මට් නැතුව හිටියේ. ඊට පස්සේ ආපු ගමන් මූද චන්දියා කියලා අහලා වෙලා මාව එකපාරට තල්ලු කරා. ඒක ට්‍රැෆික් කෙනෙක්. ඊට පස්සේ මම වැටුණාට පස්සේ මම ඊට පස්සේ ආයෙ නැගිටලා වෙලා මට තියෙන තරහට මම කෑ ගැහුවා. කෑ ගැහුවට පස්සේ එක්කෙනෙක් ඇවිල්ලා මට එහෙම ඔළුවට ගැහුවා. මම මොකද්ද මොකකින් ගැහුවද කියලා මම දැක්කේ නෑ. ඊට පස්සේ මම ඔළුවට අත තියාගත්තා. මම ගහපු තැනට අත තියාගන්නවත් එක්කම අනිත් කට්ටියත් මට එහෙමෙන් ගැහුවා. බලනකොට මම අතේ බලනකොට තනිකර ලේ මාගෙන් වැක්කිරෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ කාර් එකේ ඉඳලා මගේ යාළුවා සද්දෙට මම කෑ ගහනකොට සද්දෙට මගේ යාළුවෝ දෙන්න කාර් එකේ ඉඳලා ඉක්මනට ආවා. ඇවිල්ලා වෙලා එතන රහලා මිලට කෑ ගහුවා. කෑ ගහලා මට මගේ ලේ වැක්කිරෙනවා දැක්කන් පස්සේ ඒ ට්‍රැෆික් එකේ අය ඉක්මනටම එතනින් යන්න ගියා. එක්කෙනෙක්වත් එතන හිටියේ නැහැ. මාව ගෙනියන්න කවුරුත් හිටියේ නැහැ. පස්සේ මගේ යාළුවෝ දෙන්න ඉක්මනින්ම මගේ අර ලේ යනවා දැකලා මගේ තනිකර මූණේ තංකුණ ලේ වලින් වැහිලා තිබුණේ. ඊට පස්සේ මගේ යාළුවෝ දෙන්න කරපු වැඩේ මාව ඉක්මනටම ට්‍රීවිල් එකක් දාගෙන මේ නෝර හොස්පිටල් එකට ආවා. නමුත් මට මෙතන අසාධාරණයක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ට ගහලා ඒගොල්ලන් හොස්පිටල් එකේ ඇඩ්මිට් වෙලා බොරුවට මේ මම ගැහුවා විදියට. මොකද මම එහෙම දෙයක් කරලා නෙවෙයි. මේ මාව දැන් මේ දැනටවත් මාව රිමාන්ඩ් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මේගොල්ලන් මාව හිර කරන්න පුළුවන් තරම් හිර කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මට කිසිම කෙනෙකුට කතා කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ෆෝන් එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ගෙදරින් එක්කෙනෙකුටයි දෙන්නෙකුටයි කතා බහ කරන්න දෙන්නේ. ගොඩක් වෙලා කතා බහ කරන්න දෙන්නෙත් නැහැ.
Basil Fernando concluded his Sri Lanka visit by holding a press conference together with the Asian Human Rights Commission's long-term partner, Father Nandana, about the need for constitutional reforms to restore the rule of law and usher change of policing system and the judiciary. Here is Basil Fernando on his Sri Lanka experience.
The torture at the police stations in Sri Lanka goes on as usual. One of the most recent cases was the case of Niroshan Chamara Rupasinghe, which was simply assault for no reason at all. He was asked to stop his car, which he did, and then he was dragged down from the car. And while there was a crosstalk, one policeman hit him from behind with some iron object. The result was a serious injury on the skull and profuse bleeding, and he was saved only because he was taken to hospital by his own relatives immediately. This matter was complained to the National Human Rights Commission, and the chairperson of the commission immediately sent a representative to the bedside of Niroshan at the hospital and was able to see in detail what has happened. A worst part of this is that police made out a false case, and then the magistrate who visited Niroshan at the hospital made order to remand him. The consequence of this was that he was shackled to his bed while he was taking treatment for his head injuries. A number of human rights groups wrote to the Human Rights Commission to inquire into the practice of chaining individuals while they are at hospital and to take action to stop this practice. They cited that in India, shackling of this type is declared illegal by the Supreme Court, and this practice has now been discontinued. The important issue is that the police have not taken action against any of the officers who participated in this totally irrational and purposeless act, and instead the hierarchy of the police, the area superintendents and the DIG is encouraging the police to contest the case and thereby to prolong the deprivation of rights of a citizen like Niroshan. It is essential for the police commission and the IGP to get across the message that the foreign minister promised at the United Nations sessions in September this year, that the police and the military will be instructed to desist from the practice of torture and ill treatment, and that anyone who violates this will be investigated and punished. Although Minister has mentioned that this message has not yet reached the police stations in Sri Lanka.
That is all for Just Asia this week. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.